Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Cosmic Blessons podcast. Today I received something so beautiful in the mail. I sent off my roller derby jerseys to be made into a quilt, and it came in today. It took about 7 weeks from when I sent it off to get it back, so I was kind of like surprised. I kind of forgot about it, and it's just so beautiful, and I'm so grateful to have a piece that was put together like this that helps me celebrate and remember a big chunk of my life and something that was part of my identity for so long. So it did make me a little bit emotional. I played roller derby for 10 years, like on and off. I retired and came back several times. But I started in 2010, I believe. And I think I saw a game the year before, and then I started doing recreational practice, and that was just like once a week type thing. I was in college at the time. I was still in the Navy, so I didn't have the time flexibility to try out, and I didn't even know how to like play the game or anything. I knew how to skate from when I was younger, but I mean, I went from like not skating since I was like, 12 years old to showing up to roller derby practice, in my 20s, and yeah, went from there. But I had such a great experience. I loved roller derby. Just the community was amazing. I absolutely grew so much as a person, as a skater, and roller derby was my therapy. It was, just such a great outlet for me to get my feelings out, my aggression out. Also to keep me in shape and have a community of people that I would see regularly. And we grew together and we had goals and we learned each other's moves and we learned how to work together in a way that just, you can't get it anywhere else. At least I have never experienced anything like that. Even when I was in the military, I didn't have the same kind of connections with women. It wasn't until I joined roller derby that I was able to have like girlfriends and feel like there were other women who had my back you know, um, that I could be friends with. And I just had so many just beautiful relationships come out of there, not just with the skaters, but also the volunteers or like the families that were involved, because it was such a tight knit community. We'd see these people come to all the games and support us at fundraisers and all that stuff. And yeah, it was just such a wonderful community. I skated in Houston. Um, I got I skated with the recreational league, and then I tried out, and then I skated for my first team, the Psych Ward Sirens. I skated with them for 3 years. Actually, my second season, I tore my ACL and had surgery, and then came back and had a really hard time, and then I retired like the following season. Um, and then I I'm looking back at it and I'm like, girl, I was really struggling like with that schedule. That was too much for me, and I really just, the vibe of it was like you just have to work your ass off and, hustle hard and do it. Oh my gosh, also the other motto was like party hard or play hard, party harder. I tie drinking with roller derby like so much too, and that's kind of another thing I'm trying to work through as well. But anyways, I skated for my second team. I tried out again, and then I skated for my second team, the Bayou City Bosses, for a year, and then I was going through the divorce, and so that was another thing. And then I ended up falling and getting hurt, and then retired like halfway through that second season, and thought I was done. And then I I moved to El Paso because I had met Kevin at the time, and um, so I was retired, met Kevin, moved to El Paso. We went to go watch a game, and I was like, "Oh my god, I have to go! I have to join!" And then so I did. I showed up to a practice, and like they were having tryouts like the next week, and so I went, and then I got drafted to um, a home team and the travel team, and then before I think it was like 2 weeks before my first game, we shared our practice space with like a little soccer camp, not soccer camp, but it was like a sports place, the sports recreational center thing where different types of people were using the same space for other sports. Um, so in lieu of practice, we went to the skate park, and I am not like a park skater by any means, but I was down, and because I did a lot of trail skating, but that's so different than park skating. And so we were skating, and 5 minutes before we were gonna wrap up, we like took a picture, and then we're like, all right, let's head out in 5 minutes. And I was like, okay, let me try and drop into this bowl one more time. I did it one time before, and I was like, yeah, let me try it again. And as I tried to go down, I ended up, I don't know, basically sitting on my ankle, and I knew immediately that I had broken it. And so I was like in the middle of this bowl, and thank goodness, like all of my teammates were there because they had to get me up out of that, out of that bowl. Yeah, it was a whole thing. I have a video on my YouTube channel where I talk about how I broke my ankle, and it's my most viewed YouTube video. Yeah, so I I end up going to the ER and whatnot, and they set my leg, and that was my ankle. It's so painful, like probably the most, might be, it's like definitely up there in the top three worst pains I've ever experienced, is like having my ankle reset because I dislocated it and broken the both the bones. So oof, that was rough. Um, uh, and I did end up getting surgery, and I still have that was in 2018, and I still have the plates and screws in my ankle. I would love to get those things out eventually one day. Maybe this will be the year where I get that done. So yeah, after I have my ankle, I'm still involved with the league, and I was very determined to get back on skates. I will say that at this time, my husband was going through the custody agreement for his youngest son, and so it was a bit chaotic and messy in that way. And Derby was like my outlet to kind of like deal with all of that. But yeah, anyways, after I healed from the injury, I was like super eager to get back on skates. I also found a job teaching while I was, still recovering. And I don't know, I that I okay, so I did get back on skates, and then like tryouts happened, and then they voted for team captains differently in El Paso than they did in Houston. And in Houston you had to like throw your hat in to be picked, and then in El Paso they would just like, oh hey, these are the names of all the people on the team, who do you think should be captain? And so like there I literally like found out that night. It was just like, hey, by the way, people voted for you, you're the captain of two teams, and also someone put your name in for being on the board or whatever. And I had gone in wanting to coach specifically, and then I had no boundaries at the time, and I was people pleasing hardcore, and said yes and took on way too much. But anyways, that's just me looking at it now. I did the most 2019. That was it 2019? Yes. That season I was coaching, I was on the board, I was, yeah, I was team captain. It was a lot. It was too much, to be honest. But like I said, I was coming back from this injury. I felt like I had something to prove. I felt like people were counting on me and I couldn't say no. And then at this time, the custody agreement thing was figured out. And um, my husband's ex-wife PCS'd to South Carolina. She gave us like literally a week notice. And so Kevin had to take off and he moved to South Carolina and I stayed in El Paso because I felt like, well, I can't just up and leave. And then we had the house too, and we just didn't have the time to plan. So I stayed and continued to do derby. And I am now looking back at it and I'm like, dude, I feel like skating wise, it was probably one of my best seasons as far as like I got so many so many stupid awards that don't even fucking matter. Um, just like wow, congratulations, most valuable jammer or blocker, or this or that. And I don't know why I'm looking at it and I'm like kind of annoyed by it right now. Like I have those things hanging up on my wall. Like it really used to mean something to me, and I'm like, but it was just like a bullshit way to like feel better about myself, I guess. um, but yeah, so I felt like I was a good skater, but I felt awful. I felt like shit. I'm gonna be honest. Like my person that I had moved to this new town to had to move, and I continued to live there in El Paso for a year and a half until 2020, and I couldn't take it anymore. Everything shut down. Derby was off. School was weird and doing online stuff, and I was just not coping. I was not doing well. Yeah, there were so many things. So I moved to South Carolina eventually, and um, yeah, I had to stop. I felt like I was ready to go into 2020, skating and like claiming my status as a jammer, and then the pandemic happened, and so I did not deal with that well at all, especially because I was by myself, like in my own home, and didn't know how to deal with that. I just have to take a second to be like, wow, like you have learned some things and know how to take care of yourself so much better these days, girl. um, but yeah, so I moved to South Carolina and I wanted to go back to skating, but I didn't have insurance. And because I had just had the ankle thing happen, not even a year before, 2 years before, that was still very fresh on my mind. I didn't feel like I could play roller derby because I didn't have the insurance, and I didn't have a job that offered the insurance, and we didn't even know how long we were going to be there. So I was like, I don't want to commit to anything anyway because I thought we were going to be right back in Texas, and it just continued to drag out, longer than expected. And yeah, I just, and then, I mean, I just was dealing with, I'm sure everybody else can relate to the pandemic kind of like fucked you up a little bit, right? I I had severe social anxiety, like even going to the freaking grocery store was hard. Like I would have panic attacks. I started having like all sorts of health issues and just so many things. I tried this is when I tried to like really put pressure on myself to make money as an artist and totally burnt myself out. Like I was like done. Like I was like, I don't want to make another piece of art. Like I mean, like I know that sounds so dramatic, but I really did not know how to take care of myself, and it's so different now. But anyways, I did try and make it to a couple of practices out there with the league, and I played a game, and then I also refed a few games and with Columbia Roller Derby, and I met again wonderful people. So grateful for the skate community, but I don't know, something was different, something was off, and I didn't know, I couldn't get back into it, and then also I just wasn't in like a strong place because even when I was refing, like I had freaking people in the crowd like yelling at me as a ref, and normally I'm like so I used to be very confident with like the calls that I would make and my abilities as a ref, but man, it really got to me. I was like being heckled by the parents of the junior skaters that I was like of the game I was refing, and it was just not a good experience. And I probably could have like reached out to more people or said something, but I just wasn't in a good place, and that really kind of left a bad taste of roller derby in my mouth. I'm not gonna lie. Like I mean, I already wasn't in the best space, and then I tried to do that, and it's just a different group of people, and I took it too personally. But again, knowing what I know now, I did also skate with the regulators. They were not as competitive as Columbia Roller Derby, and they were so nice, and it wasn't this had nothing to do with them at all with any of the leagues. It was just me not being in the place to be able to play roller derby, and I was not accepting that. I just kept trying to cling on to this old identity of who I was, and I did not know who I was without roller derby. And so eventually I moved here, back to Texas in 2023, in summer of 23. And I am going through all this stuff where, and I've mentioned that like I started writing all through 2024, and that just helped me kind of figure out things about myself. And um, earlier this year, I was trying to declutter and really be intentional about all of the stuff that I have in my house. And I had all of my derby shit, and I was like, what do I do with this? I had like 50 freaking jerseys and shirts and just so many things that I've accumulated over the years. And like, I couldn't let it go. And I held on to it, and it's been with me through how many moves, you know? And yeah, I decided to go ahead and send off my jerseys to a place. Project Repat is what it's called, and they take your shirts and they will create a quilt from it. So I went and I had that done, and there was like an energetic release when I did that. I and it in the process was very like cathartic for me because I actually had to cut these jerseys up. I had to cut the shirts apart to send them like one side. So I physically had to cut my own jerseys, up so that they could be used into this thing. And so that was kind of like a tactile moment where I was able to like process and think about it, and deal with the loss of this identity. And by sending out these jerseys to be made into this quilt, it was like the official like funeral, I guess, the goodbye to the old identity of Mal McCartney, the roller derby skater that I was for over 10 years. And I still have moments where I feel like I don't know enough people, or I don't hear enough people talk about mourning that kind of loss, having the grief of specifically of roller derby. I know, like, there are absolutely like athletes that um talk about like how it's different after they retire, but like roller derby's an amateur sport, so it's like we don't get paid, you people don't hear these kinds of stories, and we're all just regular people. So I don't personally hear enough people talking about it, and that's most of the reason why I wanted to come on here and say something about it today, because I know I have found to be true that when I feel something intensely like this and I say it out loud, it it lessens the pain that is involved with it. And I also find more I am not the only one. More people relate to this. People know what this is like. People truly experience the grief, the mourning, the loss that comes with retiring from roller derby and not being part of an active part of the league anymore. And this goes for volunteers and like refs and like NSOs and all those people too, announcers. When you don't have the community there, you just there is a clear absence of energy in your life in some way. And there is nothing I know that there is nothing that is like roller derby. Like it is such a unique and like radical space. I am so grateful. And looking through the pictures, I realize like much of my queerness, was expressed through roller derby, and because it was a safe place for that. I looked through pictures and I was literally like, oh my God, look at the pictures from the pride parades that I went to and like all the other parades that I went to, and how like I could wear just whatever and not feel ashamed. And like it was just this fun, safe space. And I just sometimes really ache in my soul because I feel that I am missing something. And expressing my queerness is absolutely something that I feel like I am missing, and I don't know. I don't know how to express it. I don't know how to express it in this way, but I am actually more open to figuring it out now. Whereas I used to just think Derby was the only way and there will never be anything else. And I was sad about it and I just couldn't see anything. And now I'm farther away from it, that I'm healing, that I'm like, okay, I'm so grateful for all the connections, for all the friends, like everything that Derby has taught me. But now I'm in a place where it's like, I gotta find the new Derby. And I don't even think I should say that. I just need to find what resonates with me, that makes my soul sing now, and what nourishes me in that way. There will never be anything that can totally replace that, and that's okay. And yeah, I think that's where I will go ahead and stop this. If you are someone that knew me through the roller derby years, please let me know. I would love to reconnect. And if you are a retired skater, like, what do you think? How do you feel? What do you do differently now that you don't have derby in your life? And yeah, that's it. I'll talk to y'all in the next one. Bye.